Let me get to some football items because we had a championship weekend, is what you call it, when the AFC and the NFC is going up against each other for a berth to the Super Bowl. And I'm going to start off with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. Patrick Mahomes, we already know, is a two-time Super Bowl champion. We know in 6 years as a starter, he's going to 6 AFC title games and 3 Super Bowls. He's won 2. We know that the one Super Bowl that he lost was to Tom Brady. The one AFC championship game, the other AFC championship game he lost was when Tom Brady was a member of the New England Patriots. Only 2 quarterbacks have beaten this man in his postseason career. One's name is Tom Brady, who beat him twice. The other is Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals, but I digress. This man shows up this past weekend in Baltimore, Maryland, against the top-seeded Baltimore Ravens, won 13 games this season, won a playoff game in Lamar Jackson's first AFC championship game. They've got the #1 defense in the National Football League. They've got an offense that finally got some receivers to throw to in Zay Flowers, Nelson Aguilar, even to a lesser degree, Odell Beckham Jr. Mark Andrews came back off the injured list. He was ready to go. Gus Edwards is running in your backfield. John Harbaugh is your coach. And you've got a defense filled with Rough Riders. You were supposed to win this game. They lost 17-10. And that 10 matters because when you were averaging damn near 30 points a game during a regular season, and you certainly put up those numbers in your divisional playoff game against the Houston Texans and a rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud, but all of a sudden you go up against arguably the GOAT in a lot of people's eyes in Patrick Mahomes, and you wet the bed. That's a collective collapse, no doubt about it. You got offensive coordinator Todd Monken. He didn't show up. How do you not run the football when you've been running the football effectively all year long? How do you forget to do that? How do you have Lamar Jackson literally living in the pocket, trying to look like a pocket passer? That's problematic. If you're John Harbaugh, how do you allow your team to be so undisciplined? Unnecessary roughness penalties, roughing the passer penalties, taunting penalties, all of this other stuff went down. It was a collective collapse by the Baltimore Ravens. There is no way around it, but it still comes down to Lamar Jackson. You can slice it any way you want to. You see it right there, in action Jackson. That's what it says. And there's a reason it says that. The regular season, 67%. Sunday, 54%. 229 yards passing, even though you did 272 on Sunday. But we understood and we saw the overthrows, the underthrows, the side throws that were blocked at the line of scrimmage, passing the ball when there was gaps for you to run the football, et cetera, et cetera. I tell y'all this all the time, okay? When it gets tight, when clutch time arrives, palms get sweaty, backsides get tight. I say it to you all the time. This ain't Stephen A. throwing out the first damn pitch. I don't play baseball. I showed up that particular day. I sucked. Very, very simple. It's not complicated. But I'll be damned if there's something that I'm doing all the time and I do on a regular basis, with a strong degree of regularity, of course, and then all of a sudden I show up in a moment and I forget how to do what I've normally been doing, especially as the competition stiffens. It was something to be said about Patrick Mahomes on that other side of the field, wasn't it? That dude, Patrick Mahomes, on the other side of the field, knowing that any mistake I made is something that he could capitalize off of. That's when you find out what you're made of. And at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson came up small. He will be the league MVP in all likelihood. It will be his second league MVP. He won one in 2019. He's going to win one this year. Do you know that 9 quarterbacks in National Football League history have won at least two league MVPs? Do you know that every single one of them ended up being a Super Bowl champion? Every one of them. From Bart Starr to Joe Montana, to Peyton Manning and Tom Brady themselves, and Patrick Mahomes. Do you know that every single one of them have won a Super Bowl championship? Lamar Jackson hasn't been to one. It's 6 years. Now, he hasn't been in the league 10 years or a decade, but he ain't a rookie either. And when you look at the AFC, and when you look at the C.J. Stroud, And when you look at the Josh Allen, when you look at the fact that Patrick Mahomes ain't going anywhere, and neither is Andy Reid coaching him, when you look at the fact that Jim Harbaugh has arrived in Los Angeles to save the day for Justin Herbert, when you look at the fact that Joe Burrow will be back because the Cincinnati Bengals are not the same team without him than they are with him. When you imagine what Cleveland might be capable of if Deshaun Watson ever shows back up and reminds the world of what he's capable of doing, because Cleveland's defense was all world throughout this regular season. And we know that Nick Chubb will be back after him being injured last year. And they still got Kareem Hunt. And they still got David Njoku. And they still got Amari Cooper. If Deshaun Watson shows up in Cleveland and do what he's supposed to do, if Tua Tagovailoa continues to ascend and Tyreek Hill ain't going anywhere, neither is Jalen Waddle, excuse me, there's no guarantee that Lamar Jackson is going to be back in this picture, in this mix. A missed opportunity. And yes, it was a collective collapse on the part of the offensive side of the ball because the defense showed up, albeit they didn't do so the first 2 offensive possessions of the game. But in the end, what it comes down to is that your offense had an opportunity and you blew it. You blew it. Palms got sweaty. Asses got tight. And as a result, they folded. There's no way around it. That is what happened. As great as Patrick Mahomes is, as great as Travis Kelce is, 11 targets, 11 receptions, 116 yards, and a TD, as great as they are when Taylor Swift is in the house, because we can't forget her. In the end, what you saw was a champion that showed up and acted like champions. And you saw wannabes validating why they're wannabes. It's that simple.